Hello, good afternoon, and thank you for joining Insight Legal for this latest webinar on our new commercial conveyancing workflows and how they can optimize your law firm's productivity. My name is Josh Dallywell, and I'm one of two hosts on this call today. I'm currently joined by my colleague Nathan Street, who many of you will already be familiar with. Good afternoon, Nathan.
Hi, Josh.
Hi. We've got a fairly full agenda for this afternoon. We know that workflows are fairly new as a concept for many of you. So we're going to start with some basics before I kind of hand over to Nathan to talk us through a demo of the latest commercial conveyancing workflow. Okay. I think some of you joining this call, some of you, certainly those that are existing clients, may already be familiar with our workflows, and in particular our residential conveyancing ones. But I want to, I guess we want to kind of highlight some of the key differences with this commercial conveyancing one. And then we'll kind of briefly talk about what are some of the other out-of-the-box workflows we have available, and really kind of how I guess Nathan and some of our other team members go about helping our clients customize those for your firm. There will be an opportunity for you to ask questions, so using the chat facility in Zoom. So I think if you direct those questions at the host, they're not seen by anyone other than me and Nathan. So please ask away with confidence. And if we do run out of time, we will follow up on those questions. Or if we can't answer those questions on the live call, then we will take those away and I guess get back in touch with the answers where applicable. Okay. This webinar, I should just quickly mention, is being recorded. Hence the reason I've put a nice clean shirt on for this afternoon. And we will be making copies of the video recording available to everyone who has registered, regardless of whether you are able to attend or not. Okay. Now, many of you, as I mentioned, joining this call will have some understanding of workflows, whether you've used them in your current or previous role. So just a quick summary on terms of what are workflows. And often when people talk about workflows, they understand them to be a set process made up of clearly kind of predefined individual tasks to be completed, sometimes in a linear fashion, and those tasks may need to be completed or involve multiple people, both internal and external to your firm, and may also require integrations with other systems. Okay, and that might be, forms, for example. Okay, what people are often unclear on is what the full range of purposes and benefits of a workflow are. Okay, and again, kind of what everyone usually readily associates with workflows is control. Okay, and often that's where it stops. And it is particularly one of the main reasons smaller firms get put off by workflows, because they look at them and think, I don't need just that single level of control in my firm. But there is so much more to workflows. And because we've done so many of these workflow webinars, I'm not going to go into detail on all the benefits. If anybody would like to know or get some more information on, I guess, kind of the full range of benefits here, I can direct you to one of our earlier kind of webinar recordings. I'll also be happy to share this slide with you and again kind of talk you through it on an individual basis. Okay, but I'm just going to pick on one of these things here. For example, here, automation. People often assume that automation is to do with, I guess, some kind of assembly line like process, but essentially it's about efficiency. Okay, and removing any duplication of work, effort, and time. and can be applied often kind of to the simplest tasks, such as producing letters, to a template, and auto-filling in important details such as the client name, address, matter reference. If it's a conveyancing matter and you've got a property value, being able to pull that information into every single document where that information is required, and that information will already be held in Insight in the system that you're using, as part of the client onboarding. And essentially, when we talk about kind of duplication of effort, it's sometimes those repetitive manual tasks, such as looking at the information, such as the client's name and address and matter reference details and all the other important kind of matter details, and then having to manually copy and paste them into every single document that you're creating. Okay, and I guess kind of one of the things that we'll be kind of hoping to show you, although it is a dummy account that Nathan's using, is the ability to produce kind of documents within a matter of seconds, which already kind of pre-contain that important information, and also the ability to produce multiple documents, at the click of a button, having those documents converted into PDF and having them automatically attached to an email. Okay. So I guess without further ado, I'm going to hand over the controls for screen share over to Nathan. And let's have a look at this new commercial conveyancing workflow.
Perfect. Thanks, Josh. I'll just share my screen now, just so we can go through it all. So my intention today would be to take you through the commercial conveyancing workflows, and by that, what I mean is there's 4 subsets to those workflows. There's purchase, sale, tenant, and landlord. Okay, so within Insight here, so everyone that's familiar with an Insight, so all it is in cases, case inquiry, and this will take you to the screen here, the case hub, if you will. All the client information here, stored here, all matter related information stored here. So the workflows that we're going to go through, so we call them the foundational workflows, and that will mean different things across different areas of law. So within purchase and sale, foundational is very much a sense that they're still a very linear process. So the workflows, they're very systematic in the sense that they'll record all of the information that you would need them to record, but they're very hands-off in the sense of that they're only really looking to get involved in the more menial tasks, meaning that all other areas of cases, you would still have the final say on, you would still work how you would normally work. It's just that you would come here to produce your documents, gather your information, send emails, and just take away the things that are generally time consuming and sort of make those into a matter of seconds or a matter of minutes, right? With tenant and landlord, foundational means something different, as they are mainly used to be the baseline of recording information. Tenant and landlord, their main purposes, as they're currently built, is to grant and take leases, whereas the purpose of them is that they are built in a way that they can be repurposed to do more or less anything across the board of tenant and landlord transactions. So just starting in purchase and sale, I won't dwell on these too much. Like I say, they are quite a linear process and something that you'll be very familiar with if you're working in the commercial side of things. But across the right here is where all of the tasks will live. So we have total of 30 active tasks across the life of a file. The first, being the most sensible to do, would be to gather information for third-party contacts, gather information regarding the property. You'd also have the facility to record essential information. I guess that the main reason property value would be there, its main purpose to have it as an essential piece of information is both for documents, but equally for reporting at a later stage. So for your professional indemnity insurance, where you would need to report on the average file size or the largest file size, this is where that would come into play, meaning that from a compliance perspective and from a reporting perspective, you have all the information you need. Like I say, the other feature of it is that you can produce multiple documents at once. So the totality of this welcome pack can be produced in one click. Moving forward from there, again, it follows just the general trend of a workflow whereby you can produce your documents, gather every bit of essential information you need. All right, you can still do your AML checks, you can do everything you would normally do, just in a regimented structure. Sale would work in a very similar way in the sense that its initial stages are all based on gathering information. It's all based on producing documents, really building on those areas of the more menial tasks where you can build efficiencies and create things that happen in a matter of moments rather than having to manually create things on Word. Landlord and tenant, like I say, this is where they differ slightly, as this is where what you get out of it and what you want to do with the workflow will depend on the information you give it. So initially, with the opening questions, if you select that the client is a company, there is an agreement for a lease, there is a head lease, and there is a rental deposit, saving that and confirming that those are your answers will produce tasks associated with that. So it's asking you the position that someone holds at a company, asking you to do a check on that company, the head lease or the superior lease, however you call it. It asks for the details of that and the rental deposit details. And then away from that, it would still give you the facility to produce all of your documents, send your client care letters, right? So as you can see with this one, this is very transferable across different areas of law. Like I say, granting and taking a lease are the main purpose, but equally, it's probably 1 or 2 tasks away from being culpable to do the lease extension or any other area of tenant and landlord transactions. Just to show you how documents would be produced, how they'll be created. So I have the client care letter here. So all you would do is you would click on the tab here that says you want to produce it. You would click on that tab. It would say, I've produced this document for you. At this stage, you can rename it, open it, do anything with it. I just mark that as complete. Then when you want to send that as an email, it will pull through the email information from the client, pull through the subject as by pulling through the reference number here, just so when an email is replied to, it can be automatically filed, but it would also have any subject that you define it. Okay, like Josh mentioned, this is a dummy account. Generally, you would have an email template associated with it. But when you click on this, it will then produce an email for you, just coming up here. And it will then give you the facility to add in any documents you want. Like I say, at this point, if you wanted to, within the matter files, you can also convert that to a PDF. Okay.
Before you go on from that, Nathan, so I guess a couple of quick pointers to cover here. It's worthwhile mentioning that in the top left-hand corner, you've got a client here, which is a company, and all, I guess, correspondence is being addressed to the company. But if you had multiple contacts at the client, each one of them would be, I guess, kind of have a separate tab there. And when you produce a document, you could produce a document for one, or you could produce a multiple documents, so each client gets their own document. Within Insight also, again, it's not something that you can directly see here, but you can have contacts and other third parties associated with a matter. So again, when it comes to producing documents, again, you can produce those on and assign those to multiple people. So I think when you clicked on, for example, that produce the I guess producing a letter, if you had multiple parties or multiple individuals that needed to receive correspondence, you would have a list there, and you could select, say, which one you wanted to produce this particular letter for.
Exactly. So like up here with the head landlord details, right? So if I just selected just a random person here, for example, once that information's been put in there, you've given it a contact method of some description. You press play on that, and that would then move over to here. So then you are able to produce documents using that information, and equally send correspondence and email them from within Insight as well. So everything that you give Insight within the workflow, it will give you some form of result, being that in a reporting sense in the back end, or something matter related that would allow you to create or send things from Insight and build some form of efficiencies away from how you may currently do it, whereby you have to go into Outlook to send emails, or go into your SharePoint to find the Word document, then change it to create a template for specific people. Insight will automate that as much as it can, be that through a workflow or even just within ad hoc document production.
Perfect. And I guess kind of one of the criticisms traditionally of workflows is that they've tended to be quite linear. Okay, and I think this comes back to the control issue that I guess some people like and other people absolutely hate. And I guess with these newer kind of conveyancing workflows, essentially you could jump around, right? You don't have to complete them in a linear order. I guess kind of where they've traditionally been made to be kind of work through in a linear order is where you're delegating those tasks to a number of different people, and you want them to, I guess you want to, it's really essentially kind of checking through a list and saying, right, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. So you're missing any kind of important bits of information which are going to come back to bite you later on, or going to hold up the file later on. So yeah, I think that's one thing that's certainly important here. And yes, I think kind of with some of the more traditional workflows that we've still got available out of the box, you can have that level of control, and you can have, I guess, kind of permission level, so that somebody who's been requested and kind of completing this, I guess, kind of 1.1 section here has to follow through them in a linear order and can't kind of jump ahead. But again, if you're the main fee earner on the account, or you're a sole practitioner and you've done these things a million times, you can certainly kind of jump around and finish off sections. At least then you'll be also going to be able to go back and make sure that you haven't missed anything, because obviously those tasks will remain uncompleted. I think it's also kind of worthwhile, again, for certainly, I know there's a number of people on this demo who aren't already familiar with Insight. I know we've got some new people on the call who aren't current customers. It's also kind of worthwhile showing, I guess, pointing to the bottom left-hand corner where you've got where Nathan's cursor is, and you can see not only can I guess some of the other things relating to the file, things like the ledger, but also kind of look at where all the matter files are, and you can also produce documents as and when you want to from templates. And this is obviously where all the documents, again, certainly the documents that Nathan has just produced are stored, plus also the email that he sent out with the attachment, etc.
Yeah, definitely. Well, like you said, Josh, in terms of how linear and how systematic the workflows are, they are completely the choice of the person that's adopting them. Equally, they could be a regimented process that you have to follow one by one through the life of a file. And that may work for some people, others it may not. I can appreciate a lot of people's maybe sort of force against using a workflow is generally the fact that they don't necessarily want to be told what the next step is, or told how to do their job and how to go through a file that they've been working in a matter type that they've been working with for 20 years.
Yeah.
With the workflows, of course, they can do that, but equally, they can be free to do exactly how you want, whenever you want. If you wanted to jump straight ahead and produce drafting of the lease at the first step, you could do that. Equally, I can appreciate that working step by step through the workflow may work for some people at the firm and it may not work for others. If you wanted to use a workflow just for producing those documents and leaving everything else, you could do that. There's nothing saying that to close a file, this has to be completed. It's just there so that where people can build efficiencies and where they can make things slightly quicker for themselves, they can adopt those areas. For a trainee, they may want to go through everything step by step by step, whereas a partner may come here, produce templates and send emails.
Yeah,
and that's how they want to use it.
And I think it's also kind of worthwhile mentioning, I guess, a few other things here that come as part of workflows, which is the ability to report on files and exactly what stage every file that you've got open, certainly on a commercial conveyancing matter, is at. If there's a number of files that are stuck at a particular stage, do you need to assign more resource from within your firm to address that kind of bottleneck? It's also the ability that when somebody is absent, whether that be through some kind of sickness or they're on holiday leave, that you've got a snapshot view of everything that's been completed on the file, what's outstanding. And also you've got the ability to reassign those tasks to somebody else within the firm, so they appear every time they log in. They can see, right, here's a set of tasks that I need to complete and when they need completing by. And also there's inbuilt notifications built into this as well. So if it's the responsibility of one person or a team of people to complete a series of tasks before the fee earner can get involved, then they can receive an automated message which says, right, stages 1 to 3 have now been completed on this particular file. It's now over to you to apply your expertise, etc., as opposed to you doing, or one person having to do everything, from really kind of some of the basic tasks on this right through to, I guess, closing the file.
Yeah, definitely. And just to show you, in terms of the reassigning a task, it's literally as simple as clicking on the top right tab of any task, noting reassigned, and then you literally just tell it where to go. You tell it who you want to pass it to, be it the caseworker team, supervisor team, or just an individual person within the firm.
Yeah, and exactly, and this being a demo mock-up account, that drop-down list is our list. Obviously, you would have your list there, so that would be just the team of people in your commercial conveyancing department. Okay, I've had a quick question, Nathan, pop up on here, which is, how easy is it, or how difficult, I should say, how easy or how difficult is it to customize these kind of existing workflows, such as this one, if somebody wanted to move some of the steps around, or change things, or remove stuff, or add stuff?
Yeah, it's really easy I'll go through it now, and I'll show you. Obviously, when it comes to sort of fleshing out these workflows to quite a great extent, be it that you wanted something bespoke, we can and we will create those sorts of things for you. But equally, I can appreciate with a lot of these workflows, for example, rather than the initial tasks being the opening questions, you may want to do the AML checks as the first and foremost thing within a file. So all you do within here, you'd come to case management and tasks. As within case management, this is where the backbone of those workflows are. So the phases being the milestones, the tasks being the individual actions within a milestone. So if you click on tasks, it will come through to here. You would then identify the workflow you want to make an amendment to. So the one we're in here, that is the tenant workflow. So all you would do is you would note down, I want to change the tenant workflow. This would then show you the backbone of the workflow. This is every single task or possible task within those workflows. So for example, opening questions can open up these tasks depending on the answers you give it. But moving a workflow, so there's 3 considerations you'd need to make. The most important being the due in, as the tasks and the tasks that are presented to you are based on date order as when they need to be completed. So if you just wanted to move AML to the front, you'd note on that the first task needs to be completed within 25 days. All you would do, you would move that to 24. You would then, just to neaten up the file, you'd probably change this just so it shows you that is the first task in the step. Something to note with regards to the code, if 2 things are due on the same day, so for example, all of these tasks here are due within 28 days, the next way it would order them is based on the code, right? So if, say, for example, I put this as 25 days, the code would need to be LCT 0.1 for it to come through as the first task. So if I just show you that there, if you then save that, that will then go to the top of the list. And then you do the same with the form ID checks, just so that is also at the top of the list for you there. Change that to 0.2. Again, you do this in a similar way. You just put 0.1A, save that. That'll go to the top of the list. And then when you go back into the tenant workflow, you restart this workflow. Okay. These would be the first tasks that are associated with the file. So it's really easy. And I'm by no means an expert on amending these workflows. We have a specific team for that, but it's done literally just like that. There's 3 things you need to take into account, and that will change it.
Perfect. And I think, I guess, again, 2 additional points for me on this is that obviously you've just given us a kind of a very, very quick helicopter kind of tour of this commercial conveyancing workflow, but obviously if somebody wanted kind of a more detailed demonstration, then we will be sharing contact details again, and we can kind of run through this with you on a one-to-one basis. And similarly, for those of you already kind of currently using some of our workflows and you want some more information on how to amend those, again, please get in touch either with me, Nathan, or our kind of support email address, and we'll set up a call with one of our workflow implementation team who will actually kind of run through that with a lot more kind of clarity and patience than either me or Nathan. Perfect. Okay, right. Let me reshare my screen. So I guess kind of just a few kind of final things to run through. Again, really kind of looking at what is it that's the end goal with workflows. Ultimately, it should be to help you speed up working through a file, either by sharing or delegating responsibility for tasks in a way, and also introducing those kind of elements of automation. And it doesn't then, I guess none of this then relies upon a human to say, right, now I've completed my bit, and it's now for you to take over. That efficiency should also bring cost savings. It allows fee earners to focus more of their time on higher value tasks, but also ensure you as a firm can handle a larger caseload. You reduce risk by ensuring that regardless of who is completing a task, that the right process is followed and documents are templated. And that, I guess, you've heard me to kind of talk about automation earlier, and you can standardize and optimize the process to ensure that every matter is submitted with all the right information every time. Just imagine how much time you'd save if every time you're working matter, you didn't actually have to pick up the phone or drop an email or a message to one of your colleagues and say, where is this missing bit of information? Okay, and like I mentioned earlier, we have a number of workflows available out of the box for enterprise customers, and you can see that kind of list on the screen. And we're always kind of looking for firms that want to work with us in putting together either a custom workflow or one that may benefit our wider client base. To give you some examples, we have worked on a claims workflow, which is obviously a very bespoke piece of work for a client, and I think one of the ones we worked on was up to several hundred stages. But we've also done some very simple file opening ones for clients as well. I guess just before we go, I know we've got time for maybe one quick question. A question, again, this is a question we get asked regularly, Nathan. So actually, no, there's actually two questions we can probably cover here. Firstly, are workflows an extra cost?
No. So they are included within enterprise. For new customers, of course, there may be some consideration to be that I appreciate that workflows and the way they are currently structured may not necessarily fit to how your firm would work. So albeit that they're out of the box and they're a part of enterprise, there may be some things that you want to change. And with that, we do offer consultancy to help you amend those workflows to how you currently work.
And just finally, can we create our own workflows, or do you have to do it?
Like I just showed you, that you can create anything that you're able to do. Granted, I think maybe there may be some consideration you'd need to make, because I guess when it does get into the avenues of being quite a lengthy process, it could get fairly complicated. By all means, you could definitely do the basic things yourselves, but I would definitely suggest having a conversation with us, and we could probably guide you as to how would be the best way to go about it.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that our workflow implementation team are quite good is I guess taking kind of like a brain dump from our clients and putting that into some kind of flow diagram and having kind of several branches off that. So if the answer to question one is A, B, or C, kind of which branch do you kind of follow on from there? Perfect. Excellent. Thank you for that, Nathan. I just want to quickly mention, as I did earlier, we will be sharing a copy of the video recording, which will be sent over on email, if not later on today, then certainly by tomorrow morning. And again, that email will go out to everybody who's registered, regardless of whether you've been able to attend or not. If anybody, if we've whet anyone's appetite during this live call today, and you'd like to get a more detailed demonstration of our workflows or any of our other enterprise features, then please do get in touch with us. You can drop me, or you can get in contact with me or Nathan, or drop an email to webinars@insightlegal.co.uk, and that will come through to the team here, and we'd be happy to respond. Perfect. I want to say thank you to Nathan, and thank you to all for your time this afternoon, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.